Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics on Friday, November 23rd, with a quick update about the crypto market. And how should we say this other than hopefully your Thanksgiving is doing better than the crypto pricing today. This was an article from Monday. Bitcoin drops 12% to below 5,000. And as we take a look at today's current pricing, we can see it's gone even farther down from that. Crypto's getting whacked again last night. And obviously, for anyone who's invested really in any of the markets right now, it's really beginning to become, or could be, a confusing time with a lot of choices. Is it time to pull out, or is this the beginning of a turnaround? So today, really just help put that in perspective a little bit. Again, share how I'm seeing it and what I'm doing. But with the cryptos, for what it's worth, last year, even when we were hitting almost 20,000 on Bitcoin, I did mention that be prepared for a lot of volatility, that Bitcoin could drop back down to 10,000 or lower. I'm surprised that some of these prices have gone as low as they have, although at the same time not surprised, because while for the past decade I've been seeing the effects of a lot of printed money, seeing bubbles get inflated, and also realizing and fortunately mentioning that when bubbles pop, during that process a lot of quirky things can happen. So for example, in 2007, 2008, when the markets were crashing, even gold went from 1,000 down to 700 before eventually reaching almost 2,000. At the same time, a lot of this is based on a rather, in my opinion, fraudulent economic system here in the US, also many other parts of the globe. But to describe the dollar and the US financing as a Ponzi scheme, I'm not trying to be a smart ass here, but I mean, that's really effectively what it is. I mean, you have a debt ceiling limit that every time they come, it's raised with the threat of, well, if we don't raise and go further into debt, that would be irresponsible. I think the logic's a little twisted there. But again, you have this system that has a lot of momentum behind it, is insolvent, yet a lot of people are doing everything possible to keep it propped up. I mean, the US government is funded on its ability to print money. So, you know, it's not necessarily going to be a straight path. And here we have the cryptos, similar to gold and silver, that really have the position of taking the future role of money from the dollar that just gets printed into oblivion. Yet when the dollar is more on the ropes than ever, we see the dollar rallying while the cryptos and gold and silver are really getting beaten up pretty good. So perhaps one way to think about it is that, again, if someone can explain to you how the US is going to pay off its debt, how they're going to raise interest rates without more problems in real estate, without more problems in the stock market, without the bond market, which if you're raising interest rates, that means bond prices are going down. So if someone could present a way that these bubbles could be resolved without collapsing everything, then I would have a much different view on the cryptos. Yet there is no easy solution to that, and we are reaching the point where the current currency system is on its last legs. And so here you have cryptos, which is a technology that many would argue, and I would agree with, is going to be an integral part of our future. Yet keep in mind that in trading, yes, it's important to see when something's out of line and whether that's a time to buy or sell something. But ultimately, what moves the price is when the rest of the world and the rest of the investors realize what you are already aware of and act on it, and then that's when the price moves. And with the cryptos, while a lot of companies, again, I reference back to that article CNBC had a while ago that a survey said 84% of companies are utilizing blockchain in some way. And from everything, I continue to focus on the adoption. What are the actual business cases that are being used and met with cryptos? And to me, it seems like it's an inevitable part of our future, primarily because it's a system where you can't have printed money disappearing into black holes, because there's a clear just think of it as like a clear accounting system on something called a blockchain. So again, we're waiting for the rest of the world to begin really using this on a higher level. Now, there are places where they are using cryptos as currency. Talked with one of the guys from the Dash team, and he mentioned how in Venezuela, where their currency has already imploded, people are using it out of necessity. And all of the conditions are certainly in place that, again, whenever the dollar is exposed for what it is, we're going to need to use something. And certainly the cryptos, as well as gold and silver, I expect it will be some combination of the two. Make a lot of sense to me as for the future. And if you think of all this money, right now you see people selling stocks, a lot of panic in the market. What are they going to do with that money? Well, here's two assets that, at least again, in my opinion, are going to necessarily be needed going forward, and yet they're at their lows. So I think a lot of money is going to flow into these sectors, just it has not happened yet. And as a result, you're seeing a lot of volatility while the dollar and the treasury are rallying. So how to respond to that? Again, by all means, I wouldn't buy any cryptos on margin or leverage. I would not put all of your savings entirely into cryptos or gold or silver or any particular single asset for that matter. Yet, if you have money that you can invest without needing it next month or next year, and can say, this is where I see the world going, and this is what's happening, and at some point, here are some things that necessarily need to converge, similar to how if you saw that mortgages were getting a little bit excessive, the mortgage market back in 2005, 2006, you weren't incorrect. You just had to wait until the market and nature exerted its influence and reprice the board, which I continue to believe is happening. I continue to believe we're close to that final resolution. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet, but certainly I am holding my cryptos, and actually will be buying a couple more later today at a couple extra bucks this month. So certainly I understand it's not the easiest situation to handle, which is why I encourage you to leave any comments below and try and help you out with those. But this is the kind of situation that where there is opportunity, there is edge if you're trading, investing, if you can understand and be clear on what you're doing and put some of these things into action. So with that said, should be fascinating times, but again, leave your comments below and we'll do our best to help you through. Thanks.